Welcome back, everyone, to another explainer. Look, if you've ever built a cross-platform application, you know that handling file uploads, well, it can be a uniquely frustrating challenge. You definitely know the feeling, that collective developer groan when a client asks for a unified file picker that works flawlessly on absolutely everything. You're constantly trying to balance beautiful front-end design with the gritty, messy reality of robust, native file handling on both Android and iOS. Well, today we are looking at the ultimate bridge between those two worlds, the B4XDaisyFileInput component. Let's get right into it.
Okay, let's take a super quick look at our roadmap for today so you know exactly where we're headed. We're going to cover 1. Meet the file input. 2. Styling with DaisyUI. 3. Component properties and states. 4. Handling file selections. And finally, 5. Under the hood.
All right, Section 1. Meet the file input, the cross-platform bridge. Moving right along to Section 2, Styling with DaisyUI, modern, clean visuals.
So as developers, we want our apps to look absolutely stunning right out of the box, right? And we really don't want to spend our entire afternoon fighting with custom CSS or writing tedious manual draw routines. Notice how effortlessly we can swap between these distinct visual states. For instance, we have the highly structured default style, complete with a beautifully defined border and button background. But if you want something different, you can instantly switch to the transparent ghost style, which drops those borders for a much cleaner, inline look. And the sizing? It's fantastic. From medium to large, all the way up to extra large, the component scales its padding and font sizes perfectly without you having to tweak a single coordinate.
And this really illustrates the dynamic color variants you've got at your disposal. Look at how those theme colors just pop. We've got success in a vibrant green, info in bright blue, warning in orange. They instantly and intuitively communicate context to your user. Now juxtapose those colorful state variants against the critical visual cues, like the muted, grayed out, disabled state that clearly tells the user, hey, you can't touch this, and that stark, red-bordered error state that practically demands attention when a file is invalid. It's incredibly expressive, all out of the box.
Section 3. Component properties and states. Customizing the developer experience.
So, how do we actually configure these beautiful states in our code? Well, notice how the developers behind this component have translated complex DaisyUI CSS concepts literally directly into simple, intuitive B4X designer properties. It's brilliant. For example, if you want that primary color styling, you don't need to mess around writing CSS classes like file input primary. You simply set the variant property to primary. Need a legend above the input? The CSS field set legend maps directly to the label above property. And what about that little helper text below the input? The CSS label is just your hint text property. It bridges web standard design directly with native B4X simplicity perfectly, a true one-to-one mapping.
The really crucial point here is how these specific properties empower you to control behavior without writing a ton of boilerplate code. We have the placeholder, which dictates the text shown when the input is totally empty, something like no file chosen. Then we have max size, which is an absolute lifesaver. You just type in a megabyte limit, let's say 2 MB, and the component just remembers it. The accept property acts as your file type filter, so you can restrict selections strictly to .pdf or image/*, which prevents users from accidentally trying to upload a massive 4 GB 8K video of their cat when all you asked for was a simple receipt. And finally, error text allows you to dynamically show validation issues right under the component, automatically turning those borders an angry red.
Let's dive into Section 4, Handling File Selections, the User Journey.
Okay, we've designed it, we've configured it, but what actually happens when the end user interacts with the component? Let's just walk through this user journey really quick. First, the user physically taps the input surface, or the button. This seamlessly triggers the click event right in your B4X code. Then, your app responds by automatically opening the native platform file chooser, whether that happens to be the Android content chooser or the iOS document picker. Finally, the user picks their file, and the OS routes right back to your code, automatically firing the file selected event so you can process the payload. It's a completely clean, predictable loop.
And right inside that file selected event, we have this fantastic validation tool. As seen in the source code's demo page, checking the exceed size property provides just an instant, totally effortless way to validate the file. Remember that max size property we talked about a minute ago? If you set a strict 1.5 megabyte cap, the very moment the file is selected, exceed size calculates the bytes and just returns a simple true or false Boolean. You don't have to write the math. You literally just read the Boolean and throw an error message if they picked a file that's way too heavy.
Finally, Section 5. Under the hood, the File Handler Engine Room. All right, it is time to satisfy that hardcore engineering curiosity. Let's peel back that beautiful DaisyUI surface to see exactly how the B4XDaisyFileHandler engine room actually talks to the native operating systems. The absolute core of this engine is the load result custom type. Under the hood, the B4XDaisyFileHandler is leveraging Android Intents and iOS document pickers. But look, we all know cross-platform development is messy. Different OSs return file data completely differently. This handler catches those messy native responses and distills them down to always return this cleanly structured load result. You get a clear success Boolean, the directory, the file name, the human-readable real name, the exact size, the modified timestamp, and the MIME type. You always know exactly what data you are handling, regardless of the device they're holding. And the API doesn't just stop at giving you the raw data, it gives you the tools to analyze it instantly. These built-in helper methods are frankly massive time savers. You can literally just call getIsImage, getIsVideo, or getIsPDF to instantly verify the file contents based on MIME types and extensions. It completely rescues you from writing custom, error-prone string parsing logic. It even features a getBitmap method that takes the raw file bytes and cleanly decodes them directly into a usable B4X bitmap object for your image views. It does the heavy lifting for you.
Which really leaves us with this final thought. When you look at the raw native code required to handle file intents, paired with all the CSS required to make it look even half decent, you're easily looking at hours of work. So, how much development time will you save by dropping this unified, pre-styled file picker into your next cross-platform app? Take what you've seen in today's explainer, go experiment with those beautiful DaisyUI variants, and elevate your app's user experience today. Thanks so much for joining me, and keep building great things.